took London. Madan Lal Dhingra. India won independence due to the blood and tears shed by hundreds of revolutionaries and their families who braved the inhumanity of the British Raj and faced death, deportation, imprisonment, and impoverishment. Freedom was certainly not won by pleas, prayers, and petitions. The role of the violent and armed struggle waged by the revolutionaries is often ignored in such discussions, whether in historiography or in public culture. This struggle for freedom was carried out not only in India but also abroad by people such as Shyamji Krishna Verma, V.D. Savarkar, Madam Bhikaji Kama, Lala Hardayal, Rash Bihari Bose, and many others. In this illustrious list of fiery patriots, one man stands out for his indomitable courage and supreme sacrifice. This is the story of Madan Lal Dhingra, the young firebrand who challenged the British Raj in its first city through his act of valor. Early years. Madan Lal Dhingra was born on 18 September 1883 in Amritsar in an educated and affluent Punjabi Hindu Khatri family. His father, Dr. Ditta Mal Dhingra, was an eye specialist and civil surgeon of Amritsar. Some say he was the first Indian doctor to reach that eminent position. Madan Lal was the sixth of his seven sons. Two of Madan Lal brothers were doctors, two other brothers were barristers. Thus, Madan Lal was born in a very privileged background, and that too in a family that was loyalist and closely associated to British authorities. However, destiny had something else in mind for him, such that he went on to become the black sheep of his family and the hero of the nation. Formative years. Dhingra studied at Amritsar in MB Intermediate College until 1900. He went to Lahore to study at the Government College University. Here he was influenced by the incipient Swadeshi movement and thus was exposed to not only political ideas but the real socio-economic situation of the country. This naturally ignited in him nationalistic feelings. In 1904, as an MA student in Lahore, Dhingra led a protest against the administration's order stating that the college blazer was to be made of cloth imported from Britain. He was expelled from the college for this. Though his father asked him to apologize and tried to revoke his suspension, Dhingra refused and left home to live life on his own terms. He subsequently took up as a job as a clerk in a firm in Kalka that ran a carriage service to transport British families to Shimla for the summer months. Dhingra's mercurial temper, however, hampered every employment opportunity that he came across. He was dismissed from the carriage service due to his insubordination, and so he started working as a factory laborer. Even in his capacity, he lost his job for trying to organize a labor union. He then went and moved to Bombay, where he started working at low-level jobs. By this time, his family was seriously concerned about him. His elder brother, Dr. Bihari Lal, compelled him to go to Britain to complete his higher education. Dhingra finally agreed, and in 1906, he departed for Britain to pursue a diploma in engineering at the University College in London, India House, and contact with Savarkar. In 1905, Shyamji Krishna Verma, a prominent Indian political activist and philanthropist, purchased a house of 65 Cromwell Avenue, London, to be used as a hostel for Indian students. This was inaugurated as India House on 1 July 1905. Dadabhai Naroji, Lala Lajpat Rai, Madam Kama were some of the prominent persons present during the inauguration ceremony, which shows the nationalist link that Verma and his India House maintained. In 1905, Lokmanya Tilak's Kesari carried an editorial about Shyamji's activities in London, including his starting of the hostel India House. In just few days, India House became the hotbed of intense nationalist and revolutionary activists at the heart of London. Among those who lived and studied in India House were Bhai Parmanand, Lala Hardayal, Virendranath Chattopadhyay, Hemchandra Das, VVS Iyer, and Veer Savarkar, among many others. Other people from outside also came to India House for debates and discussion with the students, like Madam Kama, Bipin Chandrapal, Dadabhai Naroji, etc. Interestingly, the young barrister Mohanlal Karamchand Gandhi also met Savarkar at India House. Revolutionaries from other countries such as Egypt, Ireland, Russia, China, and Turkey also used to come as they shared with Indians their stand against imperialism and racism. They even shared with Indians arms and ammunition as well as bomb-making manuals, many of which were smuggled into India by the Indian students. One such Russian revolutionary who attended these meetings was Lenin. The star of India House was, however, undoubtedly V.D. Savarkar. He delivered passionate speeches on Indian history and the need to liberate India from British rule, and inspired the students of India House with nationalist feelings. He even wrote tracts and pamphlets critiquing British rule in India, many of which were confiscated or censored. His book on the 1857 rebellion became a must-read for revolutionaries. Thus, he was the main inspiring political figure in the place and was under the surveillance of the British government. In such an atmosphere, Madan Lal had come to London to pursue his studies. He found lodging in India House. Tall, well-built and handsome, he was a fun-loving, boisterous guy and was naturally the center of attraction of young men and women. In those days, freedom of the motherland was not particularly on Madan Lal's mind. In one of the Sunday meetings at India House, Savarkar was delivering an impassioned speech on India's freedom. Madan Lal and his friends were creating the ruckus in the adjacent room. The dean forced Savarkar to interrupt his speech and peep into the adjacent room. There he saw Madan Lal and his friends enjoying themselves. "What's the matter, Madan? You talk of action and bravery and avoid coming to our weekly meetings. Is this the bravery you keep talking about?" reprimanded Savarkar. The words shamed Dhingra. He quietly left India House and did not show his face to Savarkar for several days thereafter. When he mustered courage to enter India House again, it was to find out if Savarkar was still annoyed with him. When the two met, Savarkar behaved as if nothing had happened between them. He spoke with the same affection. Emboldened, Dhingra asked, "Has the time for martyrdom come?" Savarkar replied, "If a martyr has made up his mind and is ready, it is generally understood that the time for martyrdom has come." The impending storm. Dhingra had now made up his mind. In the wake of the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, nationalist emotions had risen across India. Many British officials and administrators became targets of hatred for their inhuman conduct. Dhingra resolved to kill at least some of them while in London. To pursue this goal, in July 1908, he deliberately joined the National Indian Association. This association was doing its best to discourage Indian students from the militant path. Important British dignitaries attended their functions, and hence Dhingra had a wonderful opportunity. Dhingra denounced Savarkar and other revolutionaries in the company of appropriate persons. He soon secured the trust of Miss Emma Joseph Beck, the Secretary of National Indian Association, and came to know the timings of visits of important English guests attending various functions. Eventually, the opportunity came and Dhingra took full advantage of it. Having decided on his mission, Dhingra left India House in the early months of 1909 to show the British authorities that he disagreed with Savarkar. Few weeks before killing Curzon Valley, Dhingra had tried to kill Lord Curzon, who was the most arrogant of all the viceroys. But fate saved Curzon twice. Dhingra had also planned to assassinate ex-governor of Bengal, B.F. Fuller. However, he arrived late for a meeting where these two were to be present and hence could not carry out of his plan. Dhingra then decided to kill Curzon Valley. It must be emphasized that it was not the killing of another Englishman just because he had a similar name. Curzon Valley was a very high-ranking officer. Curzon Valley had entered the British Army in 1886 and the Indian Political Department in 1879. He had earned distinction in the Afghan War of 1879-80 in Oudh in Nepal, in central India, and all above in Rajputana, where he rose to the highest rank in the service. In 1901, he was chosen to be the political aide-de-camp to the Secretary of State for India. He was also the head of the secret police. He was trying to get information about Savarkar and the revolutionaries. The students in India House came to know about this, and this naturally made him a target in the eyes of Dhingra. The deportation of Ganesh Savarkar, Veer Savarkar's elder brother, for involvement in revolutionary activities, and the attempts made by the British government to withhold the degree of Savarkar enraged the revolutionaries in London even further. As a high officer in charge of India, Curzon Whaley could not escape their wrath. His days were numbered. Preparing for the assassination, Dhingra was personally acquainted with Curzon Whaley. Whaley had received a letter from Kundan Lal Dhingra, Madan Lal's brother. On 13 April 1909, Whaley wrote to Madan Lal suggesting that he should meet Whaley. Dhingra pretended that he wanted to discuss contents of that letter. On 1 July 1909, several prominent Britishers, including Curzon Whaley, and Indians were to attend a meeting of National Indian Association at Jahangir Hall in the first floor of the Imperial Institute. The reception was given in the name of the Lady Lyall, wife of Sir Alfred Lyall. Madan Lal was an associate member of the association, and that is how he could approach Whaley. Dhingra discussed his plans with Savarkar. On 29 June 1909, Dhingra finalized his plans. He met Savarkar on that evening in Bipin Chandra Pal's house. Niranjan Pal was present at that meeting. Dhingra seemed to be in good spirits. Savarkar and Dhingra spoke to each other with great affection. Savarkar apprised Dhingra of the statement he was to make after assassinating Curzon Whaley. Niranjan Pal typed the statement and Savarkar asked Dhingra to memorize it. Savarkar then gifted Dhingra with a Belgian-make Browning pistol and took his leave with great affection. Dhingra was overcome with this emotion. Savarkar said, "Do not show me your face again if you fail this time." Dhingra reassured him that this would not happen. The two friends then departed. For 2 days after this, Dhingra practiced shooting at the Tottenham shooting range. On 1st July at 7 in the evening, he dressed in lounge suit and a blue Punjabi turban. He loaded his Colt revolver and placed it in his right coat pocket. He placed one revolver each in another coat pocket and his vest. And he was unable to memorize the statement written by Savarkar. He wrote it in pencil on a sheet of paper and placed it in his inner coat pocket along with some newspaper cuttings. He put 10-12 shillings in his pocket. He hailed the first cab that came his way and left for the function. The assassination. On 1st July 1909, Dhingra went as planned to the meeting at Imperial Institute. After the meeting was over, Curzon Whaley seemed ready to leave. Dhingra now approached Curzon Whaley under the pretext of talking to him. As they reached the landing, Dhingra lowered his voice as if he wanted to discuss something confidential. Curzon Whaley brought his ear close to Dhingra. Sensing the opportunity, Dhingra removed the Colt revolver from his right coat pocket and pumped 2 bullets at point blank range. The time was 11:20 p.m. As Curzon Whaley fell to the ground, Dhingra fired 2 more bullets. A Parsi doctor, Kawas Lalkaka, tried to come in between, but Dhingra fired at him as well. However, Dhingra's attempt to shoot himself failed and he was overpowered. Even in this situation, Dhingra wrestled with his captors and even brought down one of them, breaking his ribs. Dhingra was pinned to the ground. Only after his revolver was taken away did his captors have a sigh of relief. Dhingra was taken to Walton police station after that. The trial. The British press made some vicious allegations against Dhingra, like he had consumed drugs before killing Whaley. Dhingra refuted such allegations. His medical examination revealed to the police that this was not the case. He was perfectly calm and sane even after committing such a murder. It showed his strong resolve and refusal to be cowed down through intimidation. At the inquest held at Westminster before Coroner Mr. John Troutbeck, Dhingra expressed his deep regret for the accidental death of Lal Kaka. He stated that had Lal Kaka not come in the way, he would not have been killed. He had no reason to kill him. When produced before Mr. Horace Smith, the magistrate of Westminster Police Court, Dhingra said, "I do not plead for mercy, nor do I recognize your authority over me." Dhingra was committed to the Sessions Court. Dhingra bluntly asked the court, "If the Germans have no right to rule over England, what right have the English God to rule over India?" In his last days, Dhingra had wished that his clothes, books and other belongings should be sold and the money thus raised be given to the National Fund. However, these were confiscated by the Metropolitan Police of London. 2 trucks were taken away by Chief Inspector McCarthy. Dhingra had given a letter authorizing Nitin Sen Dwarkadas to be the owner of his personal belongings. But when the case came to Bow Street Magistrates Court on 31 December 1909, it was ruled that as Dhingra had made no will, the police were not bound to return Dhingra's belonging to the said person. When Dhingra shot dead Curzon Wiley, his brother Bhajan Lal was in London studying law at Gray's Inn. 4 days after the event, Bhajan Lal attended the public meeting to condemn Madan Lal. On account of that, Madan Lal refused to see Bhajan Lal when the latter visited him in the Brixton prison. Soon after their brother were hanged, his brothers dropped the surname Dhingra with the exception of Dr. Bihari Lal. Dhingra's family disowned him legally, especially his father, who was a staunch loyalist. Condemnation Meeting. On 5 July 1909, a meeting was held in Caxton Hall to condemn Madan Lal Dhingra. Aga Khan was in the chair. The motion was proposed by Amir Ali. Aga Khan put the motion to vote. After seeing many raised hands, he said that the motion was passed unanimously. Savarkar protested and said, "No, not unanimously. These are the opponents of the motions as well. Take down my name, Savarkar. I oppose the motion." There was a great uproar. An Anglo-Indian named Palmer hit Savarkar near his eye. Savarkar started to bleed. Even then, Savarkar said, "I still oppose the motion." MPT Acharya, a friend of Savarkar, then hit Palmer with a stick. Surendranath Banerjee expressed in anger. He said Savarkar had a right to have his say. It was outrageous to attack him. Banerjee left the hall in the protest. Women panicked and left the hall. Police rushed in and the meeting ended in disarray. Afterwards, Savarkar wrote a letter to the Times and other newspapers. He maintained that as the matter was sub judice, discussing the case in public and using the words crime and criminal amounted to the contempt of the court. Savarkar's letter was published in the Times on Tuesday, 6 July 1909. Admiration from the enemy. Dhingra's fearless patriotism prompted some Englishmen to plead clemency for him. One of them was W.T. Stead, editor of Review of Reviews. Stead was an admirer of Savarkar and a supporter of India's freedom. He had arranged lectures on Indian civilization by Bipin Chandra Pal at his residence. Stead had suffered 3 months' imprisonment for his idealism. In a letter written to the Observer, Stead contended that Dhingra had committed the murder in a fit of insanity and hence his death sentence be commuted to life imprisonment. The Evening Post London expressed a similar opinion. While these opinions were being expressed, VVS Iyer, Nitin Sen Dwarkadas and J.S. Master met the Secretary for India and requested that Dhingra's dead body be handed over to them in order that the final rites may be performed as per his last wishes. Savarkar wanted to Dhingra's ashes to be respectfully collected and sent to different places in India. Several members of Secretary Morley's council favored life imprisonment rather than the death sentence for Dhingra. They feared that his martyrdom would ignite further acts of redistribution. Other members of the cabinet were also in favor of a life term for Dhingra. But Morley was adamant that an assassin who was caught would be sent to the gallows and the same fate awaited Dhingra. Dhingra's valor infuriated King Emperor Edward VII. In a letter dated 17 August 1909, he wrote to Morley that Indian be barred from coming to England without valid reason. Such students learn treason while in England and incite others back home, he fumed. In his memoirs, Wilfrid Swashman Blunt, the British poet and writer who also served in the diplomatic service, writes, "No Christian martyr ever faced his judges more fearless or greater dignity. In India, could produce 500 men as resolutely without fear, he would achieve her freedom." It was recorded in medical evidence at the trial that when arrested, Dhingra's pulse speed no quicker than normal, nor from the first to last that he shows any sign of weakening. Blunt also had conversations with Winston Churchill, the future PM, who was then a junior member of the cabinet. Blunt writes in his diary, "Again we sat up late. Among the many memorable things Churchill said was this. Talking of Dhingra, he said that there had been much discussion in the cabinet about him. Lord George had expressed to him the highest admiration of Dhingra's attitude as a patriot, in which he shared. He will be remembered 2000 years hence as we remember Regulus and Plutarch's heroes, and Churchill quoted with admiration Dhingra's last words, as the finest ever made in the name of patriotism." On the day of Dhingra's martyrdom, leftists entitled "Ireland Honours Dhingra" were distributed and pasted on walls in Ireland. This reflected the solidarity of the colonized against the British Empire. Martyrdom. The day of Dhingra's hanging finally dawned. It was 17 August 1909. Several of Dhingra's friends made efforts to meet him for one last time in the Pentonville prison but failed. Dhingra had assumed that he would die without meeting his friends. However, to the end, he remained calm and composed in the face of imminent death. He walked calmly to the noose and placed the noose round his neck, while the hangman just stood by. Soon thereafter, the hanging took place. Till his last breath, Dhingra showed no sign of any kind of fear. Dhingra wished that last rites according to Hindu Dharma should be performed on his dead body and it should be cremated. Many Hindus petitioned to the Home Secretary, Mr. Herbert Gladstone, that Dhingra's body should be hanged over to him, as Brahmins were ready to perform the last rites. These requests were denied. His body was put in a coffin which was buried within the prison premises. It was not until 1976 that the Indian government made arrangements for his remains to be brought to India and cremated as per the Hindu rites. After Dhingra went to the gallows, the Times London wrote an editorial titled "Conviction of Dhingra." The editorial said, "The nomenclature displayed by the assassin was as a character which is happily unusual in such trials in his country. He asked no questions, he maintained a defiance of studied indifference. He walked smile from the door." Last statement. As desired by Gyan Chand Verma, Sardar Singh Rana, who was then in Paris, published Dhingra's last statement on a postcard along with his photograph. Below the words "Vande Matram" was written 17 August 1909, and below this was written the following words: "To the sacred and inspiring memory of patriot Madan Lal Dhingra, who died for his country, Rana sent copies of these to Savarkar, who was in London, through Govind Ami." Savarkar in turn sent a large number of these copies to India. The government soon banned it. Nonetheless, it became public. Madan Lal Dhingra's final statement was as inspiring as his action. Titled "Challenge," it read as follows: "I admit the other day I attempted to shed English blood as humble revenge for the inhuman hangings and deportations of patriotic Indian youths. In his attempt, I have consulted none but my own conscience. I have conspired with none but my own duty. I believe that a nation held down in bondage with the help of a foreign bayonets is a perpetual state of war. Since open battle is rendered impossible to be disarmed race, I attacked by surprise since government denied to me. I drew forth my pistol and fired. As a Hindu, I felt that a wrong done to my country is an insult to God. Her cause is the cause of Sri Ram. Her service are the services of Sri Krishna. Poor in health and intellect, a son like myself has nothing else to offer to the mother but his own blood, and so I sacrificed in the same on her altar. The only lesson required in India at present is to learn how to die, and the only way to teach is to by dying ourselves. Therefore I die and glory in my martyrdom. This war of independence will continue between India and England so long as Hindu and the English races last, if the present unnatural relation does not cease. My only prayer to God is, may I be reborn as the same mother and may I again die in the same sacred cause till the cause is successful and she stands free for the good of humanity and the glory of God. Conclusion. In an article written in Vande Mataram on 10 September 1909, Lala Hardayal wrote, Dhingra, the immortal, has behaved at each stage of the trial like a hero of ancient times. England thinks she has killed Dhingra. In reality, he lived forever and has given the death blow to English sovereignty in India. Madan Lal Dhingra lives on in the hearts of countrymen. The excitement and respect showed by Indians when the last remains were brought back to India in 1976 is indicative of that.